What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist, it's Stokastic here on the Oddshopper channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Logs. All right. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. My allergies are not very good. My chest is a little bit congested, but you know what? I'm not going to whine and complain because overall, it's been a really good betting last month or so. It's been an especially good betting month here. Well, 5 days here in the NBA streets, that's for sure. Started up on Tuesday. We have been early and often to a lot of really sharp plays. We want to keep that continued. We got to keep evolving. We got to pay close attention to news. It is a news-driven sport. Anybody who tells you otherwise is ridiculous. It has to be something that we are early and often to with the injury reports, with coaching tendencies, and obviously this change to the NBA policy as far as rest and stuff has gotten wild. The Joel Embiid thing today drove me berserk, and I'm happy I didn't over-invest myself in that spot because I thought there was a legitimate chance Embiid ends up resting. He ends up playing there. Now it's like, well, we're going to see a lot of these type of things back-to-backs. They're not as easy to read the tea leaves as they might have been once upon a time. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, guys like that. On a back-to-back, what's going to happen with them? I'm going to talk you through what my policy is going to be here in the early going. Pretty much no locks in those kind of spots, mainly because I need to start figuring out very quickly in like next 5-7 days how we're going to handle some of these situations and what the overall tendencies tend to be. That's very redundant. You know, it's not redundant. $5 into $150 in bet credits at Bet365. You bet at one of these 6 states. Yes, 6. I can count. That's cool. We got Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Iowa, Colorado. There we go. I had to do them like duos because it works that way geologically in my brain. But you bet $5 in one of those 6 states, you get 150 in bet credits. That, my friends, is good stuff. It's as good as a Jalen Duren double rebound ridiculousness. The guy's out of his mind. And you'd be out of your mind not to take advantage of bet $5, get $150 bet credits. We're going to talk through him. We're going to talk through everybody else. But first of all, that's if you're 21 and over, only 18 and over in Kentucky. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all. As I said, a little bit congested here in the chest, but hey, no days off. No days off. Bill Belichick. He'd be a real one if you were a good football coach. But anyway, we got producer Alicia here. I'm so excited about it. I feel a little bit bad that I'm not, 100% here. But hey, overall, a pretty decent day. Obviously, had a nice little parlay there with Jamar Chase, with Brandon Ayuk to carry the NFL day. Patrick Mahomes throws a pick. Philadelphia pushes the -7. Oh, I don't know if I'm upset because they were up 14 at the end or if I'm ecstatic because they never should have been close to covering that. But anyway, should have been a push probably. Without further ado, oh, sorry if you're listening in your car or on audio. That was annoying. Without further ado, producer Alicia, let's get to the picks. Wild first game we have here. Well, wild in the sense of like, I don't know what the fuck to do. But Brooklyn taking on Charlotte. Ben Simmons, yeah, we've been backing him a little bit. We'll talk through the ins and outs of this one. But I want to point out one thing above my head against the spread. Producer Alicia, producer Jacob, fantastic stuff. Getting everything equipped here for me. Make me look cooler than I actually am, which is not that hard, I suppose, because I'm an idiot. But Brooklyn, -1.5 here in this spot. Road dogs. But 2-0 against the spread. They're 0-2 in actuality. So we got to make sure we're paying attention to certain things like that. This is in no way saying that they're a good team, but they're better than expectation, even though the wins have not come along for the ride. But Charlotte on the other side, they're 1-1. Had that surprising opening night win. And then, well, they're going to do a lot of losing throughout this season. So just buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be wild. Also, I'm pretty sure I just quoted Harry Potter, the headless thing on the bus. It's weird when you're sick, your brain goes different places. And yeah, I need some Tylenol after this. But again, it's like more allergy related. Who cares? We're talking about this LaMelo Ball. He's going to be limited in terms of minutes. It would appear 31, 33 minutes. Not as many as I was projecting there on opening night, but getting close to some of those triple-double numbers that have been softer and softer. When people don't do the thing, people don't tend to bet the thing, and people get better odds on the thing, and there you go. The opposite is true for things like Jalen Duren double-double, which I just love him so much. Like, legitimately, how good are we at this program? We're pretty good. I guess I'm the only one talking. It's my only time I'll pat myself on the back period this entire time, I promise. But as we look at the board here, I think the only thing that I'm remotely interested in is actually the Ben Simmons double-double. Now, there are a couple of these spots where they're available, and we're going to have 2 other that exist on the board, and we were very early and often to this marketplace last season, projecting it very, very nicely, and we were early and often to it this season too. But Ben Simmons double-double, there are the extra outs for the fact that, like, he's somebody who can get there for you in assists and rebounds, and then doesn't even have to score. Although, the double-double last time out, plus 400, plus 500, depending on where you were getting that at, you did get that in by way of points. So that was nice. He was a bright spot there on Friday. I think we might want to run it back, but want to double check some numbers, see if we can't get a better one against Charlotte. That is going to be one of those teams that, although the pace hasn't been as crazy, it's still crazy considering their top 3. 106 possessions per 48 minutes. Could see that going up as we go throughout this season. So just sit, wait, wish, hope you believe in superstitions, and then maybe you'd see the sign. Shout out Jack Johnson. Must I always be waiting on you? More Jack Johnson for you as we go to the Bulls and the Pacers. And I'm sure Bulls fans, they're thinking, what did we do to deserve watching this basketball team here lately? Although they pulled their heads out of their you-know-whats and found a way to win a basketball game. Why Kobe White is starting here, I don't know. Alex Caruso ends up closing that thing, knocks down the big 3 that they needed. He was the hero that Gotham deserved. You saw Kobe White play 28 minutes and put up, like, what? 0, 1, and 2. The weirdest line I've ever seen for 28 minutes from a starting player that generally has a lot of usage, that generally gets involved in that kind of a perspective. General usage. Anyway, Chicago, I think we might actually be backing them here if we get a better number. I expect money to come here on the Pacers side because they're a young, exciting team, and the public likes that stuff. They're also a perfectly healthy team, which I believe adds efficiency into the fray. And Zach LaVine here is expected to be playing basketball, though, on the other side for the Bulls. So, like, it's kind of a perfectly healthy spot. So this is more of a sit around, react to the public. If they move this line north of plus 150, then I could probably fire up the Bulls. Otherwise, there's a lot of basketball games on this slate. What, 11 basketball games we have in play? Don't force bets just to bet. That's dumb. We have so much basketball in play today. We're going to find props tomorrow that are going to show up, and I'm going to probably tweet about them over on X, at Eric Lindquist. Go follow me. I'm going to do Lindy's Locks update, which will start in the NBA streets on Monday, considering MLB now in the rear view. MLB Lindy's rip. Good times were had by all, especially in the home run world. Chicago money line? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'm going to just wait on it. Kind of a twofer, because this is one that I do have some interest in an actual spread, depending on a couple of things. Well, one of them just being overall, like, we know Washington sucks. I think we knew Washington sucked before they knew that Washington sucked. But now everybody knows that Washington sucks. It's a whole field of suckage on the floor there. And it's not going to be on the Boston side. 10-point road favorites. I had to double check myself there. Road favorites here. -10. Again, 0, 1, and 1. That's actually not exactly totally accurate because it depends on what time you got that Boston bet in. If you got the 3.5, you got the cover. And actually, I believe producer Jacob just didn't update that. Alicia, make a little note. Make a little note. We got to fix that one because Boston did cover for us there on opening night on the lock. They end up actually pushing that next one at 8 or 9, depending on where you got that too. These are a lot of times closing line against the spread, and you got to always be like very aware of that. Bet early in the NBA. We want to get to these numbers before they move, and this is kind of where I'm a little bit trepidatious here on the Boston side from a betting perspective. If you look over at OddsShopper, nothing in this game projects well, and that is just a fact. But there's one thing that's sitting there at like a 0, less, like right around the 1% expected ROI marker, and that is Jordan Poole over 22.5 points. He is going to be chucking. Why Washington wanted him, I don't know. Maybe they just thought that he could be different. He won't be the guy that Draymond Green wants to punch in the face because he's terrible at defense and not trying in practice. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure he's the guy that Draymond Green wanted to punch in the face and didn't want to play defense in practice. That's what I've come to gather. But there's no doubt he's going to be out there chucking to the moon. On Saturday, 36 minutes, 8 for 23 from the field. 7 for 18 from the field there on opening night there on the 25th for the Washington Wizards. So, like, my God, 22.5 points. He's got to shoot it better than this. If he doesn't, yeah, ship him off to, well, not to Boston, just like to the, not even to like the G League. It's just like, you can't get rid of this contract. One of the better stories, considering he was a G League all-star and just a guy who built himself into that Golden State Warriors team by way of offense. It's going to be hard to be a volume scorer here for the Washington Wizards in some capacity outside of like, well, you're not going to win basketball games with it, but hey, we might as well make some money while we're at it. Over 22.5 points. I like it. But you should know by now, Boston -10. I'm going to have interest in that one as a lean. Again, as you see the slash there, Boston -10 is actually a lean. Jordan Poole over 22.5 points. I understand that they're not correlated. That's my biggest problem with putting these together on a ticket. So I'm just going to react. If people somehow, some way move this inside of 10, I have this projected right now at 10. So like I could see 9 being something that I'm actually okay with, even along with a Jordan Poole type play. So lots to be determined here. Well, Minnesota sports took another devastating turn. Kirk Cousins tears his ACL. I am not in a good mood with that. Minnesota, it's always just the Twins. Everybody's like, hey, they're going to beat the Astros. No, they're not. Hey, the Vikings, they win 4 in a row. Doesn't matter. Kirk Cousins is hurt. Hey, the Minnesota Timberwolves have Rudy Gobert on the books. Not going to be great because Naz Reid is the guy you want on the floor. But you know what? Naz Reid went absolutely ballistic the other night. I could not love a man more than the 28 minutes, the 4 for 7 from 3, the 10 for 14 from the field, the 25 points and 8 boards that we got from him. Everybody wanted him at the trade deadline last season. It is no surprise why. He's hashtag good at basketball. Give him more minutes. Send Rudy Gobert to the shadow realm, although he actually played pretty decent in that game. 14 and 14, 31 minutes of work there against Miami. Pretty comfortable W. And obviously, some of the Naz Reid time was in garbage time, so I'm not going to go nuts with any of those props. Think they look all right. So what are we looking at here against this Atlanta team that I find to be downright putrid? It's not a great construction of it, and I am happy to see what they ended up pulling off, which is an absolute surprising blowout win against Milwaukee, but let's not go out of our way to compliment them here too much. It's early in the season. That was their first W. It came against a Milwaukee team that is on a back-to-back here. Lots of back-to-back talk that we're going to have here on this program, and Minnesota not amongst those groupings. They are a team that did not play there, so they're the fresh team going into Atlanta. Pretty straightforward play, if you ask me. -130 to back my Minnesota Timberwolves. I almost said Vikings. God damn it. Sucks. We won in Lambeau, though, so I'm not going to be that. No, I'm going to be in a bad mood. Minnesota money line, pretty easy add to the card for today. Now, this is something that I toyed around with quite a bit here because the Toronto Raptors, big piece of news that's going to be hanging over them here. OG Anunoby questionable here for these festivities. I talk about injury news here a lot, obviously on opening night, and then Friday even. There weren't a ton of those kind of situations. We kind of were able to read the tea leaves. There wasn't a ton of news waiting in the wings, but there will be here. You've got to pay attention to this, and that's where you can find some value betting some props that are generally middled. What do I mean by middled? It means that it's kind of adjusted for him both being in and out. It is split down the middle so that when news breaks one way or the other, the line can then react, and it's not going to get punished for being on an extreme end of the poll. There are times when I don't believe a line is being middled, and I'm a little bit surprised by it. We generally find likes or locks in those kind of directions. It's kind of what we have here to a certain extent, although it's a little bit better. It's just simply that I think Scotty Barnes is a guy who's going to see an increased rebound percentage if they're not going to have Jakob Poeltl on the floor nearly as much this season. He's played 24, 19, and 25 minutes. You have Precious Achiuwa, who is doubtful here for this outing. That creates an opportunity for Thaddeus Young to possibly be thrust into the rotation for a couple of minutes. Not going to be somebody who goes completely ballistic on the glass, but basically you take a true center like Poeltl off the floor. You have Pascal Siakam playing a lot of the minutes there at center. He's not the best rebounding big amongst everybody. He's played 34, 41, and 36 minutes in the first 3 outings. He's yet to hit double digits, 7, 8, and 7 in those regards. So as I go through his rebound rate on the floor over past seasons with OG Anunoby off the floor, Scotty Barnes kind of gets emerged to the top of my model. And I think that this is something that, for me, Scotty Barnes, you've seen it now the last couple. He's turning into a dude. We had a triple-double out of him against Chicago in that surprising loss. They somehow choked the chicken on that one. That's a weird way of saying that. I'm going to work on my phrasing. But 17, 8, and 5 there for him against Minnesota. 22, 10, and 10. And then 24, 8, and 5. I'm trying to adjust numbers and try to see exactly where I'm going to land for OG Anunoby's rebound rate. if he's in here. But I think that you're looking at Scotty Barnes possibly being the guy you want to just bet and hope that you get OG sitting in this spot. I don't know what to make of it. I know Precious Achiuwa will probably be out. That's what doubtful means, or that's my understanding of what doubtful means. And OG Anunoby didn't play last game. You're going to have Dennis Schroeder on the floor here. I don't know, running a new rotation, running new situations and a new coaching staff. Everything kind of needs to be taken with a grain of salt. But Scotty Barnes, double-double, I think you fire it up and you live with the result of whatever happens with OG Anunoby. How about living with these results? If you're in one of these 6 states, the great states of Kentucky, Virginia, New Jersey, Ohio, Colorado, or Iowa, congratulations, you hit the jackpot here. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. That, my friends, is good stuff. If you're in Kentucky, it's even better. You bet $1, you get $365 in bonus bets, and that isn't going to last forever. Nothing does, friends. Time is a flat circle. It's an illusion, but this is not. Bet 5, get $150 in bonus bets. Yeah, we're getting deep here on, this isn't the deeper dive. This is, of course, Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NBA streets, and as such, I want to get you guys some cash. I just do. That's the goal of this program. No better way than signing up at multiple sports books, saving yourself some money by always getting the best line. And a lot of those best lines, well, they're in. Fortunately, if you're in one of those 6 states, but unfortunately, a lot of those best lines are at Bet365. So if you're in, I'll say them one more time: Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Virginia, Ohio, or New Jersey, get yourself $5 deposited over at Bet365 and get $150 in bonus bets to fire up on Monday Night Football, to fire up on 11 games in the NBA streets, to fire it up on everything your heart desires. And remember, we're not going to be here forever, so take advantage of these things. 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. And if you're going to have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. I don't know. I had to think about that. I love you all. Back to the picks. Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby. How good is Luka Doncic? How good is Luka Doncic? He's very good. People, you know, it's like nowadays everybody want to talk like you got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. Just a bunch of gibberish. What the fuck up with that? Like they forgot about Dre or Luka. Forgot about Luka. 2-point spread here in Memphis. Walk in Memphis. And that's kind of what Jaren Jackson does. He's walking around there aimlessly. They keep losing basketball games because there's the suspension that's still sitting over John Morant. They're 0-3. Dallas is 2-0. 2 teams that are going in different directions based on what happened last season, which was Memphis played really good. Dallas played really bad. And here we are. The ship has been righted. Now, I'm going to stay away from the spread here, although if I had to lean in any direction, I'm definitely going to continue backing my take that Dallas is going to be a reestablished, completely, fully operational Death Star. When you get an off season of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and a Luka Doncic who last season didn't play in the summer, came in at a little bit out of shape, didn't really look as engaged early, playing in FIBA was huge from my perspective of Dallas, knowing that Luka, there was no way he wasn't going to be in shape because he was just playing basketball like all of September. So like, this is good stuff. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, good to see him and Kyrie really learning how to space the floor together. A lot of different metrics that I do want to bring up here shortly over on dunks and threes, but I do think Dallas is still a team. You know, they've got room for improvement. They've had a very easy strength of schedule here through the first 2 games. I think San Antonio, as much as it's going to be fun to watch them, because I mean, they're a fun basketball team. They have that Victor Wembanyama character who's awfully good, regardless of what people want to say. But you get San Antonio and you get Brooklyn. That's a pretty easy double, I think, to start off. In Memphis, they're off to a tough start, but they're going to be better than this going forward. I find that to just be impossible. You look over at dunks and threes and you look at their strength of schedule. Well, 8th in adjusted strength of schedule so far in their 3 games, 7th in adjusted net rating. So they're still doing good things on the basketball floor, even if it's not showing up in the win column. That's why you're only seeing a 2-point spread for, 2-0 team, 0-3. It's so early. We don't want to get over, we don't want to over-exaggerate, but I am going to over-exaggerate this because Luka Doncic, why is this assist line 7.5? I don't understand. He's been shooting the ball phenomenally well. 33 points, 49 points there against Brooklyn, 3 for 11, 9 for 14 from 3. But for me, I look at the rebound column, double-doubles. We're seeing assists now as well. I think he's going to have guys getting open looks as they start to really have to do. I mean, every team's going to have to plan for Luka. It's going to create so many opportunities where I think you're going to see big scoring games from Kyrie Irving, who he's been pretty muted in that regard. 22 and 17 the first 2, 6 for 17 last game. You start getting Luka an opportunity to dish it to Kyrie in open space, and Tim Hardaway Jr. also coming off the bench. Only 6 for 17 for him as well. If they shoot the ball better, you're going to see this assist rate go up, 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 because the potential assists are absolutely there. So 7.5 assists against Memphis, a team that isn't as bad as they've shown. They're top 10 in pace through 3 games. This is a pretty easy add to the card. I think it's one of the better plays on the card. In fact, there's only one lock on the card. I want to be a little bit trepidatious knowing how much news is going to be breaking, and as we're getting used to like the rules and what the schedules are going to be for these coaches. But I do think this would be the closest thing to a lock that exists out of the light categories, if that makes any damn sense at all. We're going to no, we're not going to Miami. We're going to Milwaukee. I always tell my dog, hey, you want to go to Milwaukee? And he enjoys that. And he always like giggles. And then he barks. And then he looks adorable. And then we go on a walk. Everybody should get themselves a Bernese Mountain Dog or any dog, because dogs are awesome. And even when you don't feel good, they make you feel good. I'm not saying this because he's asleep on my foot, but he's very cute. Anyway, the Miami Heat taking on the Milwaukee Bucks here. And Milwaukee got blown out of the gym by Atlanta? What in the world? I will say, shout out to Atlanta. The one thing I didn't bring up previously that I should have, I love the fact that Jalen Johnson got inserted into the starting lineup instead of Saddiq Bey. It looked to me like in the preseason, because the second to last preseason game Jalen Johnson started, the last preseason game Saddiq Bey started, I thought Jalen Johnson did a lot of really good things on the floor. I think he's an exciting player. I think they're going to be better suited to have him just in the starting lineup, eating up more minutes. And Saddiq Bey can then come off the bench and do what he does, knock down a couple of open shots, play some tough defense, but do it in a more limited capacity, because Jalen Johnson, big, well, relative to Saddiq Bey. And then also just, he's an exciting kid that I think is going to add another element to Atlanta going forward. But that caught Milwaukee by surprise a little bit, and Milwaukee just didn't come to play. They just didn't. After being anointed, after a ridiculous opening night from Damian Lillard there against Philadelphia, they absolutely laid an egg. But what's the big thing that is missing out here on the back-to-back? Chris Middleton didn't play Sunday. And if you go through any of Chris Middleton's numbers, or if you've ever seen me talk about Chris Middleton on this program, you know that I believe him to be one of the more important players for this basketball team. And there's a reason they cut bait with Drew and not Chris Holiday. Now, a lot of that is that you're getting offensive craziness that can be Damian Lillard on any given night, or on most nights, in fact. And that just fits better with what they want to do as a team. They want to get up and down and play. They want to go to the pick and roll more with Giannis. And then you get an open shooter like Chris Middleton in the corner. That's awesome. Now, he's coming off the worst shooting season that he's had basically in the entire NBA, a 55.7% true shooting percentage, a 49.9% effective field goal percentage. But over the course of time, you're going to see this Milwaukee team so much better with Middleton out there than here. And also, if it is a back-to-back here, not having to extend the starters into the fourth quarter for Milwaukee, I think that's a really good thing for their back-to-back prowess here against a Miami Heat team that I just do not believe in at all. Remember, last season, they barely made it to the playoffs. They had to come back from down 18 against the Bulls in a play-in tournament, play-in game. Talking about play-ins? Play-ins? Can't win a game, play-ins? Yeah, so there's that. They end up going and beating up on Milwaukee. Milwaukee's probably got that taste in their mouth where it's like, oh, Jimmy Butler, that's not good. That's a weird thing to say, but, you know, depends what version of Jimmy Butler. I kind of like the, what is it? It's like the Dear Maria, come again. It's a little bit of emo stuff like that. There's a story at the bottom. I like how I wove like advanced analytics with being sick and then still singing and pushing through. I'm a sick person. I'm literally a sick person. Milwaukee -5, friends. We like it. Thumbs up. That's good stuff. I think you want to bet them here in the comeback. Coming off of an absolute dud. Get ready. You don't want pissed off Giannis in your building. And also Chris Middleton, better than any of these other fools on the floor that he's going to be in their stead. Yeah. Like, what are we talking about? Pat Connaughton. Get out of here. Campaign in the membrane. Actually, I have fond memories of him. I'm done with nostalgia. Milwaukee -5. Pretty easy play. Half a unit. It's pretty insane to me that spreads are popping up big time for me in the early going. And I'm a little bit nervous about this one. And this is kind of where I say tread lightly, because again, look into how you have to analyze your players going forward and how you're going to utilize their rest days, because the NBA seems like they are on an absolute tear to make sure that these guys don't rest in spots. Like Steph Curry, I think, is still going to play basketball in this game no matter what. I don't think they can get away with resting Steph Curry if he's healthy and such. Now, why they have so many back-to-backs early on in this season, especially traveling back-to-backs, I don't know. I don't quite get it. The NBA schedule is bonkers. I know they wanted to try to keep things going, putting tons of games on the slate on a Monday, on a Wednesday, on a Friday, trying to, compete with the NFL in some capacity over the weekend. NFL comes back and says, no, we're not resting nobody this weekend for opening NBA weekend. Not even a conspiracy theory. It's money. It talks. But Golden State, Draymond Green ends up getting fired up here. You have Chris Paul sent to the bench. Does Draymond Green, who started on Sunday against the Rockets, get inserted into the starting lineup here again? Or does he get his minutes limited? Or does he rest? Or does Chris Paul rest because he's old and fragile? Like, there are so many things that I don't understand how Golden State is going to handle this. This is where you have the learning curve. But if you knew that Draymond Green was resting, if you knew Chris Paul was resting, and you knew it was going to have to be a lot of young players like Jonathan Kuminga playing, and he's looked good. Moses Moody's looked good, for the love of God. Klay Thompson's looked less good at times. But what I'm getting at is that there are so many ways that this lineup either has to be limited in terms of minutes or has to rest completely because, again, Chris Paul, infinity years in the NBA. Draymond Green, not exactly young himself, and just got back to the lineup here on Sunday after being out for a while with the injury and then coming back. Does he play on a back-to-back his first 2 games back? I would argue he doesn't. And that has been a centerpiece, defensive piece here. They needed Steph Curry to go absolutely ballistic against Sacramento to be able to sneak that game out. It was crazy to watch Steph Curry put up the 41 spot. And, you're going to see a lot of that from Steph Curry over the course of an NBA season. But this is a Pelicans team that I do think is absolutely in line to beat up on a team like Golden State on a back-to-back. They played Houston, Golden State did. They got the W. Yay, let's set off fireworks, whatever. You have a team in New Orleans that didn't have to play basketball at all. They're not on a back-to-back. So we're getting the healthier team as just 2.5-point favorites at home. And there's a lot of rest candidates for Golden State, regardless of the rules. And there's uncertainty about what these rotations are really going to be. And the defensive efficiency for Golden State has looked terrible through the first 2 games without Draymond. Looked way better with him on the floor. That's why he's there, friends. Hold, please. Had to cough. Mute buttons are great. This is also great. Lock button on the New Orleans Pelicans early and often in these kind of situations. A healthy Zion. You got to take advantage of it while it's here. Not going to be here forever. That's kind of been the tendency. But 2-0, beat up on Memphis, beat up on the Knicks with great defensive presence. And a lot of that is just the high energy and the length that they have with Herbert Jones, Brandon Ingram, putting them with Zion. Jonas Valanciunas obviously playing decent enough minutes. He's always going to be that guy that at the beginning of the game, they always fade away from him later because they want to go small in a lot of these spots. But if they are getting improved play from some of these other ancillary pieces like Dyson Daniels, who, again, hasn't looked very good, but the team exercised his third-year option, so they obviously like him. And then I don't really have anything else to add. That's really like the end of it. New Orleans is an absolute smash. -2.5. This line would not shock me if news broke where you saw this at 4.5, 5, 5.5 come lock. If there's one player that you attached me to last season watching this program, pretty sure it was Bojan Bogdanovic, where we absolutely smashed in terms of his points prop. Producer Alicia's like, yes. Producer Alicia, we got to get you back here more often for F's sake. I absolutely love my guy, Jacob. I absolutely love my chica, Alicia. It is great to have them both hanging out here. Big heart, all the things. But she's nodding her head yes, because Bojan Bogdanovic, absolute smash in terms of props. It wasn't even real life. Kind of not real life so far with Jalen Duren here of the Detroit Pistons. Made me feel very smart when I said Jalen Duren plus 250 double-double. Take it to the frickin' moon. made it a lock play on opening night. Thought it was the most under-projected double-double, triple-double that I've seen in quite some time based on their preseason rotations. They made it very clear, very, very clear that James Wiseman was not going to be in this rotation. And yet nobody was projecting him across the industry or the marketplace or any book. It just was off. And what did we do? We slammed him. He has now played 32, 35, 33 minutes, which at these rates that he had last season, where he was averaging rate, south of that, you are looking at him as the most improved player so far in the NBA from his second year out of any rookie from last season. I absolutely love this cat. I always have. It's just so great to see how good he is at finishing around the rim. He's only 19 years old, and he is making us trucks of money in the early going. Ended up heavy on his over 12.5 rebounds props the last two slates it's been. And now you're looking at kind of comparable numbers, but the double-double has gone from plus 250 down to plus 130, down to minus 130, where I still thought it was a play. I am very concerned that when we pull up our spreadsheets tomorrow, because again, that play is not actually available here yet, we are going to see something that makes us queasy, that makes us uncomfortable. But that is why early season NBA can be such a smash. You can be early on your takes. You can put your money where your fucking mouth is and you could smash. And you can have all the haters and all the land come after you and say that you don't know shit. And I can be like, look, motherfucker, here it is. I'm just saying, I'm good at this. Jalen Duren is really, really good at this too, friends. Double-double. I don't even know what to tell you. Okay, Seaside, Chet Holmgren's going to be a lot of fun to be paying attention to. I'm actually staring directly at some Shai Gilgeous-Alexander props. But anyway, I apologize for swearing. If you have kids around, I will, I don't know. I say fuck from time to time. I'm sorry. In control. Here we go. Utah plus 6.5 taking on the Denver Nuggets here in this one. Nikola Jokic just doing Nikola Jokic things. I mean, they're just so good. Denver's so good. 3-0. We knew they would be good. I mean, this is pretty wild, though, how good a shape he's in right from the get-go. I know he was hanging out. Maybe it's because he was just hanging out clubbing. And obviously, he had to work out for an extra month and a half, 2 months. He was kind of upset about that. We heard that in the press conferences. I had to work longer. I want to go home. He wanted to hang home. And I totally get that. I enjoy being at home. He enjoys being at home. I work from home. Jokic does not, but he works from an arena, and he is very good at his job, perhaps the best at his job out of like any athlete on the earth right now. He's up there. He's up there. Awfully good. Would have said Tyson Fury until Saturday. Anyway, we've got ourselves a little bit of an issue here because I do think that there's going to end up being some type of value here on the Utah side, and it's got me a little bit uncomfortable. We're staring at plus 265, and as I updated everything, as I pulled it up on OddsShopper and started looking across the marketplace, something tells me people are going to send money in on a chariot to the Denver side of this basketball game. And you get these early season feelings, and you kind of know where the public's going to go. They're not going to bet against Denver in any kind of a regard. They're going to make that minus 320 there, you know what, and just add it to every parlay and feel very confident about their lives. But friends, Lauri Markkanen really did show out, absolutely screwed up my Friday lock there with the Los Angeles Clippers. Still 5-2 with a nuke play as well. So 6-2 technically if you count Saturday's play, where Evan Mobley, 18.5 points. You have to be following me on X at Eric Lindquist, updating you on plays. Evan Mobley covered that with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, ends up finishing with 33 in a losing effort. Cleveland played bad in general. Evan Mobley just smashed there without Donovan Mitchell, without Darius Garland. So I felt pretty good about that one. 6-2. I'm trying to keep you on track here, and only one lock here on the card so far. Maybe something else shows up in the prop department that's not up there yet. But as I started running some of the pace metrics here for Utah, they're going to be pretty standard, really. And they played really slow, 101 possessions per 48 minutes here through the early going. Again, it's not apocalyptic, but like 12, I expected them to be in the top 10. The fact that teams like New Orleans, San Antonio, and most surprisingly to me, Dallas are above them. What are we doing? Dallas is playing with some pace. All that pace, no treble, but kind of like that out of Utah, trying to get that thing going up the floor, because that's how you neutralize somebody like Jokic, who in the half court, You're not going to beat Denver. You're just not. You got to beat into that bench. I still think jury's still out on Peyton Watson for me, although you kind of got to like what you've seen. But the big thing for me here is Denver's on a back-to-back. They smashed Oklahoma City out of the park. Now they go back home. I don't know. Utah team that didn't play basketball on Sunday. Early back-to-backs in the NBA season, confirmed, kind of a thing. Again, just insane that I have as many spreads that are showing up, because this is not something that I go out of my way to bet nearly as much. I am far more into the prop streets, far more into predicting pace and being able to do things of that nature. But if you like to bet spreads and money lines, you're going to like today's program, because I have more of those than I'll probably have on any other 10-plus game card the rest of the season. And this is yet another one. The Lakers currently playing basketball as we speak right now. They're in the middle of the third quarter. That game's actually moving in pace, but similar to what I talked about with the Golden State side, what do the Lakers do on a back-to-back, knowing that you've got Anthony Davis and LeBron James on your basketball team? I can tell you one thing. Year 21 for LeBron, you kind of want to show a little bit of trepidation, and I do think the books have been very early to react to how young and exciting and potentially good this Orlando team is. I'm not going to go out of my way and say that they're the second coming and that the East better look out or anything ridiculous like that, but I think you know my love and affection for Paolo Banchero. I think that he adds another dimension to this team. Markelle Fultz continues to get better and better, and obviously they're the slowest paced team in the NBA through the first couple games here, just 2 that they've played. Their adjusted offensive rating still been a little brutal, but they've had a really cake puff schedule here, which is the only reason that this is not going to be a lock button. And it seems like that is factored in to this specific number here. Again, you have Portland and Houston. It doesn't get a whole lot better than starting against Portland and Houston. Now, they got Houston out of the park. Portland, they had a nice, comfortable, close win there at the end. Well, comfortable, close win. That's redundant, as I already said enough F words to last me the rest of the show. But I'm looking at Markelle Fultz here, my friends. Markelle Fultz is definitely a dynamic basketball player when healthy and obviously when, capable of just finishing at the rim. We don't even need him to go out and shoot. He's 0 for 2 from 3 for the rest of the season. I'd be ecstatic to not watch him shoot another 3 for the rest of my life, because it is not pretty. But Cole Anthony can go out there and get you a bucket. Baby, I'm Jalen Suggs. I don't know. Haven't done that one yet. Felt good about it. Trick Daddy, let's go. And then Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, the Wagners. Jonathan Isaac, love him. Love what we're seeing out of him in very limited minutes. But he's just another one of those guys, just 14 and 8 minutes. If you can have him stay healthy and you can play him for 10 to 15 minutes a game, that is a dude off the bench who is much better than the average dude off the bench. Joe Ingles, Jingles is hanging out. Jingles all the way. Lots of depth on this Orlando team in general. So there you are. Money line. Down with the points. Thinking about it. It's a like. It's definitely going to be a like. And that does it for a very sick edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NBA. You know what to do. Go down to that video description box below. Let me know your favorite plays here on the card here for Sunday. I am going to go get some R&R, knock myself out. I know. It's like what Chris Rock, the Robitussin. I could get a little bit of that. Probably just going to be Tylenol. Maybe a punch in the face just to mix it up. Get in a bar fight. I don't know. I'm feeling a little angry. I'm feeling pretty good, though. For real estate. It's beautiful. Anyway, bet 365, friends. Bet $5. Get yourself 150 in bet credits. It's really good stuff. Over in one of these 6 states, Kentucky, Virginia, New Jersey, Ohio, Iowa, Colorado. Great stuff in any one of those states. $1 into 365 in Kentucky. So Yahtzee to you. Yahtzee. That's like 2 Yahtzees, really. It's like when you roll the Yahtzee and then you get to use the Yahtzee in another category. Real Yahtzee players know. But it's only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Everybody give some love to producer Alicia. So great to have her back on the program here. For one day and one day only, you're going to be here more. You're going to be here a lot more. Make sure of that. Anyway, that's really all I have for you, friends. A lot of props that we'll probably talk about in the next couple days. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Monday.